Hi friends, welcome to Sindhu English. இன்னைக்கு நம்ம சேனல்ல PG TRB GK Unit 3 அதில் 100 questions இப்போ பார்க்க போகிறோம். First, preamble to the Constitution. So Unit 3 உடைய டாபிக் என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா Indian politics. So the first subheading preamble to the Constitution. The preamble to the Indian Constitution begins with which words? So, this is a mukkiyamaana question. The preamble to the Indian Constitution begins with which word? The answer is we the people. The preamble declares India to be a dash. The preamble declares India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Third one, which term was added to the preamble by the 42nd Amendment Act 1976? Which term was added to the preamble by the 42nd Act of 1976? The answer is secular. Next one. The preamble is a part of the Constitution but not enforceable in courts. A part of the Constitution but not enforceable in courts. Next question. The preamble reflects the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. Liberty, equality and fraternity. Next we are going to see the another important topic, fundamental rights. So எப்பயுமே வந்து பார்த்தீங்க அப்படின்னா PGTRB எக்ஸாம்ஸில் ஜிகேல ஆர்டிக்கல் ரிலேட்டடாக ஒரு கொஷின்ஸ் வந்துடும். ஒவ்வொரு எக்ஸாம்ஸ்லுமே நீங்கள் பார்க்கலாம் ஆர்டிக்கல் ரிலேட்டடாக ஒரு கொஷின்ஸஸ் வரும். ஸோ இது ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டான டாபிக். Fundamental rights are enshrined in which part of the Indian Constitution? Fundamental rights are enshrined in which part of the Indian Constitution? The answer is part 3. Which article guarantees the right to equality? Which article guarantees the right to equality? The answer is Article 14 to 18. Article 14 to 18 guarantees us the right to equality. The right to freedom of speech and expression is provided under. The right to freedom of speech and the expression is provided under. Answer Article 19. Article 19, the right to freedom of speech and expression. Which fundamental right prohibits the discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth? Which fundamental rights prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth? The answer is Article 15. The right to constitutional remedies is provided under. The right to constitutional remedies is provided under Article 32. Article 32. Which article protects against the arrest and detention in certain cases? Which article protects against arrest and detention in certain cases? The answer is Article 22. Abolition of untouchability is guaranteed under. Abolition of untouchability is guaranteed under Article 17. Untouchability, Article 17. Which fundamental right cannot be suspended even during an emergency? Which fundamental right cannot be suspended even during an emergency? The answer is Article 20 and 21. The right to education was added to the Constitution by which amendment? The right to education was added to the Constitution by which amendment? The answer is 86th Amendment. Right to Education Act எங்க வருது? 86th Amendment. Which articles ensures the right to life and personal liberty? Which article ensures the right to life and personal liberty? The answer is Article 21. Next topic, directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy are enshrined in which part of the Constitution? Directive principles of state policy are enshrined in which part of the Constitution? The answer is part 4. Directive principles aim to establish economic and social democracy. Which article directs the state to provide free and compulsory education to children below 14 years? Which article directs the state to provide the free and compulsory education to children below 14 years? The answer is Article 45. Compulsory education, Article 45. The concept of a uniform civil code is mentioned in. The concept of uniform civil code is mentioned in Article 44. Article 44. Directive principles are non-justiciable in courts. Non-justiciable in courts. Which article promotes equal justice and free legal aid? Which article promotes equal justice and free legal aid? The answer is Article 39A. Article 39A. The state is directed to organize a village panchayat under. The state is directed to organize the village panchayats under. The answer is Article 40. Which article directs the state to protect the environment? Which article directs the state to protect the environment? The answer is Article 48A. Which article emphasizes the promotion of international peace and security? Which article emphasizes the promotion of international peace and security? The answer is Article 51. Peace and security, Article 51. The directive principles are inspired by which country's constitution? The directive principles are inspired by which country's constitution? Answer is Ireland. Next topic, center-state relations. The divisions of powers between the center and states is provided under which schedule? The divisions of powers between the center and the states is provided under which schedule? The answer is 7th schedule. The union list contains how many subjects? The union list contains how many subjects? The answer is 100. Which list include the subjects like education and forest? which list includes subjects like education and forest? The answer is concurrent list. Residuary powers in India are vested with. Residuary powers in India are vested with the Union. Which article deals with the distribution of legislative powers between the center and the states? The answer is Article 246. In case of a conflict between union law and a state law on a concurrent list, subject which prevails. In the case of conflict between the union law and the state law on a concurrent list, subject which prevails. The answer is union law. The governor of the state is appointed by. The governor of the state is appointed by. The answer is the president. Financial relations between the center and states are regulated by. Financial relations between the center and the states are regulated by Finance Commission. Which article empowers the parliament to form new states? Which article empowers the parliament to form the new states? Article 3. The center can issue the directions to the states under which article? The center can issue directions to the states under which article? The answer is Article 257. Next, we are going to see judiciary in India. The Supreme Court of India was established under which article? The Supreme Court of India was established under which article? Article 124. Who appoints the Chief Justice of India? Who appoints the Chief Justice of India? The answer is the President. The concept of public interest litigation, PIL, was introduced to. The concept of public interest litigations, PIL, was introduced to. The answer is ensure the access to justice for all. Ensure access to justice for all. The power of judicial reviews is derived from. The power of judicial review is derived from Article 13. The High Courts in India function under which part of the Constitution? The High Court in India functions under the which part of the Constitution? Answer, Part 6. The number of judges in the Supreme Court is determined by. The number of judges in the Supreme Court is determined by the Parliament. Which article provides for the establishment of high courts? Which article provides for the establishment of high courts? Article 216. The Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction in disputes between dash. The Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction in disputes between states and the centers. The concept of independence of judiciary is ensured by. The concept of independence of the judiciary is ensured by options: fixed tenure of judges, security of tenure and salary. Both A and B, none of the above. The answer is both A and B. Which court is known as the guardian of the Constitution? Which court is known as the guardian of the Constitution? The answer is Supreme Court. Next topic, empowerment of women. The 73rd Amendment Act 1992 provides for. The 73rd Amendment Act 1992 provides for reservation of seats for women in panchayats. Reservation of seats for women in panchayats. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act was passed in. The Protection of Women from the Domestic Violence Act was passed in. The answer is 2005. Which article prohibits discrimination against women? Which article prohibits the discrimination against women? Article 14, Article 15, Article 16. The answer is all of the above. Article 14, Article 15, Article 16. They all prohibits the discrimination against women. The National Commission for Women was established in. The National Commission for Women was established in 1992. The Betty Bacho Betty Padho scheme aims to. The next question, the Betty Bacho or the Betty Padho scheme aims to improve the child sex ratio and girls' education. Improve the child's sex ratio and girls' education. The Dowry Prohibition Act was enacted in. The Dowry Prohibition Act was enacted in 1961. Which scheme promotes the women's entrepreneurship in India? Which scheme promotes women's entrepreneurship in India? The answer is Stand Up India. Stand Up India. The Maternity Benefit Act was amended in. The Maternity Benefit Act was amended in 2017. The Sexual Harassment of Women at the Workplace Act was passed in. The Sexual Harassment of Women at the Workplace Act was passed in 2013. Which constitutional amendment reserved one-third seats for women in local bodies? Which constitutional amendment reserved one-third seats for women in local bodies? 73rd and 74th amendments. Next, rights of transgender. The Transgender Persons Act was passed in. Protection of rights. The Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act was passed in. The answer is 2019. Which Supreme Court was recognized the transgender person as the third gender? Which Supreme Court was recognized the transgender persons as the third gender? The answer is Nalsa vs. Union of India. Nalsa vs. Union of India. The Transgender Person Act ensures. The Transgender Person Act ensures the right to self-perceived gender identity. The right to self-perceived gender identity. Next question. Which article is often cited to protect the rights of transgender persons? Which article is often cited to protect the rights of transgender persons? The answer is Article 14, Article 15, Article 21, all of the above. The National Council for Transgender Person was established under. The National Council for Transgender Person was established under Transgender Persons Act 2019. The Transgender Persons Act prohibits the discrimination. The Transgender Person Act prohibits the discrimination in employment, education, healthcare. The answer is all of the above. Employment, education, healthcare. Next one. Which scheme supports the welfare of transgender persons in India? Which scheme supports the welfare of transgender persons in India? The answer is SMILE. That is SMILE. Next, the right to self-identity gender is protected under which section of the Transgender Person Act? The right to self-identify gender is protected under which section of the Transgender Person Act? The answer is section 4. The Supreme Court's Nalsa judgment was delivered in the Supreme Court's Nalsa judgment was delivered in 2014. Which ministry oversees the welfare of transgender persons in India? Which ministry oversees the welfare of transgender person in India? The answer is Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Next, we are going to see miscellaneous questions. The Indian Constitution was adopted on. The Indian Constitution was adopted on 26th November 1949. 26th November 1949. அதாவது the Indian Constitution was adopted. அதாவது எப்போ வந்து இந்தியன் கான்ஸ்டியூஷன்ஸை அந்த எழுதி அவங்கக்கிட்ட நம்ம கவர்மெண்ட் கிட்ட ஒப்படைச்சாங்க இல்லைங்களா, அந்த டேட் பார்த்திங்கன்னா 26th நவம்பர். இதை எப்போ நடைமுறைக்கு கொண்டு வந்தாங்க அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 26th January 1950. அந்த குடியரசு தினம் நம்ம கொண்டாடுறோம் இல்லைங்களா, அப்போ தான் வந்து பார்த்திங்க அப்படின்னா அதை கொண்டு வருவாங்க 26th January 1950. அதனால தான் அதை வந்து ரிபப்ளிக் டே அப்படின்னு நம்ம கொண்டாடுறோம், குடியரசு தினம். ஸோ இதில் ரெண்டையும் பார்க்கணும். மீன்ஸ் அடாப்டட் எப்போ அடாப்ட் பண்ணாங்க, எப்போ அதை வந்து நடைமுறைக்கு கொண்டு வந்தாங்க அப்படின்னு 2 கொஷின்ஸ் இருக்கும். அதில் நல்லா தெளிவாக படிங்க. The power to amend the constitution is provided under. The power to amend the constitution is provided under Article 368. The term socialist in the preamble implies. The term socialist in the preamble implies mixed economy. The right to property was removed as a fundamental right by which amendment? The right to property was removed as a fundamental right by which amendment? The answer is 44th Amendment. The Finance Commission is constituted every. The Finance Commission is constituted every 5 years. The Supreme Court's advisory jurisdiction is provided under. The Supreme Court's advisory jurisdiction is provided under Article 143. Article 143 in Supreme Court la advisory of jurisdiction. So is provided எந்த சட்டத்துக்கு கீழே வருது அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா Article 143. Which article abolishes the titles like Raja or Maharaja? Which article abolishes like Raja or Maharaja? The answer is Article 18. The directive principles related to equal pay for equal work is mentioned in. The directive principles related to equal pay for equal work is mentioned in 73. Article 30. Article 39. The directive principles related to equal pay for the equal work is mentioned in Article 39. The emergency provisions in the constitutions are found in. The emergency provisions in the constitutions are found in 74th. The answer is H. The emergency provisions in the constitutions are found in 18, part 18. The concept of basic structure of the constitution was established in. The concept of basic structure of the constitution was established in. The answer is Kesavananda Bharati case. Kesavananda Bharati case. The Attorney General of India is appointed under which article? The Attorney General of India is appointed under which article? The answer is Article 76. Next, the National Commission for Women. The National Commission for Women is a statutory body. The Right to Information Act was passed in. The Right to Information Act was passed in 2005. The Chief Justice of High Court is appointed by. The Chief Justice of the High Court is appointed by. Answer, the President. Which article provides for the separation of the judiciary from the executive? Which article provides the separation of the judiciary from the executive? The answer is Article 50. Next question, the term secular in the preamble means. The term secular in the preamble means, that is equal respect for all religions. Equal respect for all religions. Next question, the fundamental duties are mentioned in which part of the Constitution? The fundamental duties are mentioned in which part of the Constitution? The answer is part 4A. The number of fundamental duties in the Constitution is. The number of fundamental duties in the Constitution is 11. Which article provides for the protection of monuments and places of national importance? Which article provides for the protection of the monuments and the places of national importance? The answer is Article 49. The power to impose the president's rule in a state is provided under. The power to impose the president's ranks rule in the state is provided under. The answer is Article 356. Article 356. The Right to Education Act was enacted in. The Right to Education Act was enacted in 2009. The National Legal Service Authority, NALSA, the National Legal Service Authority was established under. Legal Service Authorities Act 1987. Legal Service Authorities Act 1987. The concept of fraternity in the preamble promotes. The concept of fraternity in the preamble promotes. The answer is unity and integrity of the nation. Unity and integrity of the nation. Which article provides for the establishment of the Finance Commission? Which article provides for the establishment of the Finance Commission? The answer is Article 280. Article 280. Next question. The Supreme Court's power to issue the writs is derived from. The Supreme Court's power to issue the writs is derived from. The answer is Article 32, Article 226, both A and B, none of the above. The answer is C, both A and B. The term republic in the preamble indicates. The term republic in the preamble indicates. The Elizabethan head of state. The answer is the Elizabethan head of state. The directive principles are considered. The directive principles are considered. The fundamental in governance. Fundamental in governance. The direct principles are considered fundamental in governance. The power to make laws on residuary subject lies with. The power to make laws on residuary subjects lies with. The answer is Parliament. The Women's Reservation Bill 2023 reserves the seats for women in. Women's Reservation Bill 2023 reserves the seats for women in. The answer is Lok Sabha and state assemblies. The right to form the cooperative society is. The right to form the cooperative societies is. The answer is fundamental rights. Next question. The national policy for women was last revised in. The national policy for women was last revised in. The answer is 2016. The Transgender Persons Act mandates the formation of. The Transgender Persons Act mandates the formation of. The answer is welfare boards. The Supreme Court's collegium system is related to. The Supreme Court's collegium system is related to. Appointment of judges. Appointment of judges. The Right to Privacy Act was declared a fundamental right under. A right to privacy was declared as a fundamental right under dash. Under the Article 21. Next question. The principle of equal pay for the equal work is a part of. The principle of equal pay for equal work is a part of directive principles. Is a part of directive principles. Okay friends, I hope this video will be useful to you. So இதே மாதிரி அடுத்தடுத்த டாபிக்ஸ்க்கான வீடியோஸஸ் வந்துட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ தொடர்ந்து நம்ம சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. தேங்க்யூ ஆல்.